Hello all. Another beautiful fall day here in California. It got down to 51 last night, and when I left it was 59, and now it feels like it's about 62 or 63, something like that maybe. Beautiful. Politics at the end this time. We're going to go right into defining pre-industrial baseline. So when we're talking about CO2 levels, it's always brought up pre-industrial, and many of my commenters have said that that baseline fluctuates, and I didn't quite understand that, so I thought I would research that for a while, see what it is that so many of my watchers are telling me. And what they are telling me is that the Industrial Revolution began in the late 1700s. This marked the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the 1700s. But there's no exact date, so who knows what the exact date is. Let's just say 1750s, okay? A new study found that the climate change signals appeared around 1830s. Then another signal in 1930s. Now, where is the complication coming from here? Why isn't it something easy and baseless? Well, let's look at this chart, and you can see that CO2 doesn't go in a flat line. It goes up and down seasonally, plus depending on what volcanoes going off or what forest fires are burning or something like that. So there's all this variation. So what you do is you just take that line, you divide everything in half, and that's your baseline. That's what they've been sort of saying. Wow, maybe we better move. That didn't sound good. It sounded like somebody might be pissed. We'll try it over here. It sounds a little more civilized. It's a bit violent over that way. Natural variability in the climate makes it harder to determine a signal for pre-industrial baseline. So it's a signal that they're looking for but haven't really found yet, and that's why so many people come up with so many different numbers. They take the baseline at different places and different dates. So they pick a spot and they say that's our baseline instead of averaging it all out and going with the baseline of that. So what would your ideas of a baseline be? 1790s to 1830s? That'd be the earliest baseline, but then you have another baseline of 1720 to 1800. Those are the only two real baselines that sort of equal out the average, but really CO2 is all over the place throughout history. So where the baseline comes from is very important to a lot of people, but it doesn't really matter. You know why? Because the fix is still the same, and you still have to do it as fast as you can to try and head off 1.5C, where plants and animals will have difficulty growing outside. So that's why people don't know whether we're 1 degree above baseline or 1.2 degrees above baseline or even 2 degrees above baseline. Because if we are 2 degrees above baseline, I think that means the game is completely over, and within 2 or 3 years we will be seeing heat waves like we've never experienced, and people will die by the millions. But I'm hoping we're not that far yet. I'm hoping that the baseline adjusts it so that we have more time. Boy, look at how dry everything is getting so quickly. Now, we've been here and done many videos here and seen how the trees looked. Look how dry the vines are now. Okay, now let's look at another variation, the volcanoes, the solar variation, and the CO2 gas concentrations, the CH4 concentrations from 1560 to 1960. Trying to get rid of that noise, but it's a loud one. It's on a high skyscraper, and it's probably most of the city can hear it today. So, politics, God, where to go with that? I mean, we saw what's happening with Barr and going on with this coup with Trump and the Republicans, most of them going along with this. 60% of all Republican voters think that Joe Biden is in there by fraud, even though it's 214. You know, that's what Trump got, 214. He needs 270 to win. Not even close. This isn't even a close race. I mean, if it was close, we would have more to argue over, but it's clearly Joe Biden won the election, whether you are for him or against him. Politics. According to the latest news, the progressive community is telling Joe, do not cooperate with Mitch McConnell. Do not give in to him. No Republicans in the cabinet, period. None. No lobbyists in the cabinet, period. None. No Wall Streeters in the cabinet. None. No oil executives in the cabinet. None. Environmentalists can go in the cabinet. Educators can go in the cabinet. Scientists and engineers can go into the cabinet. But none of this other trash, this bottom-feeding lobbyist and corporatist. We've had enough of that. Haven't we? Haven't had just plenty of lobbyists and corporatists to have to deal with without having any more? I sure hope not. I'm hoping that Joe Biden is listening to what the people want and not what the lobbyists, bankers, and corporatists want. Because we don't really care. They've gotten their share all along. And Joe, dear, if you're going to give us a stimulus, give us a stimulus. You know, you people never, ever hold back when it's time to give the wealthiest tax cuts worth billions. But you give us a little $1,200 stimulus every 3 or 4 months when rent is between $3,800 to $2,700 here in San Francisco on average. You give us a pathetic little $1,200 stimulus? Really? How about $5,000 to $10,000? Let's make it even higher. Let's get it up to a percentage that you give the super wealthy. Oh, can't do that, right? Yeah, I'm sure there's some reason you can't. But we'll see what happens. But I'm not holding my breath. According to Joe, he says he's going to reverse a lot of Trump's environmental setbacks. Hopefully he'll do quite a bit of restoring the environmental integrity that we had before Trump. Again, I'm not holding my breath. But again, no corporatist Republicans or lobbyists in the cabinet, period. That's what the people want. Will Joe listen to us? What do you think?